for months and now a year, you learn fast. And not many people have that opportunity, really. Most researchers do their research on their off time. They're working, they have families. So when they have a chance, and on the weekends, that's when they're working on it. Even the authors who are writing books, that's the case with them. So these guys have really been able to get up to speed extremely quickly, and now they're extremely knowledgeable in the field. And one thing that Jason's really interested in and has a good eye for is doing some analysis, being a graphic designer, trying to analyze these photos and what's real and what's not. He has a real interest in what are balloons and what are not balloons. When we went to Mexico, we saw, quote-unquote, UFOs, and I filmed some.
Cool.
But we're pretty confident that it was UFOs that balloons that I probably got, and not, something unknown. Because there's lots of balloons out there in Mexico. And that's the hard part with some of these Mexican videos. Some of them are extraordinary.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that these are UFOs, or these are unknowns, and they are doing some crazy, incredible things.
Yeah.
Some of them, though, are probably balloons, and it's hard to figure out which is which. So we're trying to do more work, and one of the things we'll be putting together is filming balloons and filming some Chinese lanterns and things like that, and then putting those videos on the internet for people to see, so you can see what those look like, so you can help people determine if what they saw was a Chinese lantern or what they saw was something else.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess, obviously you've met Jaime Maussan. I love this guy, Jaime Maussan. He's just a fascinating character who's been involved for a long time. Of course, everybody out in Radioland, he was basically the Mexican host of the equivalent, 2020 that they have in the States there, pretty much. The main investigator that people looked to when they turned on their TV at prime time to hear what was going on. And then he turned to ufology, and ever since he's been full of steam, and he's been at lectures all over the world, and he's been presenting movies and documentaries. That must have been really exciting for you to meet Jaime.
Yeah, I've known Jaime for quite a bit, and it's probably, it's partially, kind of my background. I kind of know more of the Latinos that are into the field, and so I got to know him through that.
Cool.
And I've known him for a while, and then also, working on the Stan Romanek case, which he's had a great interest in, a huge interest in, and so meeting him through that as well.
Yeah.
So I've got to know him for quite a while, and he's such a neat, funny guy. He's really full of energy. He's a boom, 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 which is what news media is like. You got to produce.
Yeah.
Either on a daily basis or for him on a weekly basis. You can't screw around. It's work, 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 work to get stuff out there. And like he says, sometimes often they're not able to do thorough investigation because they're just documenting it and getting it out there for people to see. So, like he says, maybe there are some things he runs across that are knowns or are hoaxes, and he just hasn't been able to thoroughly investigate enough to find out. But he feels it's more important that he be a journalist and get the information out, which is what journalists do. So he is just a pretty incredible guy in everything that he does.
Yeah, he's a really important figure in the field because Mexico, of course, is such a hot spot for unexplained phenomena and activity, and he surely does deliver. When he converted over to this field, I think it was what the world needed, especially in that area too, to bring that information to the light over here in North America. Alejandro, as a journalist, looking into this stuff, I find it really refreshing that you're kind of a when I think about it and I analyze it, you're kind of a nuts and bolts guy. You present the data without getting too subjective about who you're interviewing. Do you find that hard to separate yourself from your feelings on the people you're interviewing and presenting the data? Do you find is it a fine line you walk? Trying to express how you feel about the interviewee?
It is a bit. I don't find it too difficult because I have a journalism background too, and radio background, so a bit. And so I learned all of those skills back then, luckily. What gets harder sometimes is, sometimes, well, and so that, sometimes there's a case, for instance, that you know is, or are very confident that perhaps that it's not the real deal. And so sometimes it's difficult to present that, but still, if you present it in the proper light and use your journalism objectivism, you're going to be fine, and it's fair to do. So sometimes there's problems like that, but otherwise, even if I disagree with some of these people, what's great about this field is I either like the person or I appreciate what they're doing and have a great respect for them.
Yeah.
So even if I disagree, it's still wonderful to work with some of these guys because I do have that respect for them.
Well, I was going to ask you about someone in particular, but then I decided, maybe I shouldn't, because then your own feelings about whether or not you think the case is fraudulent or not might come out and, I don't know, make things weird or messy. I guess that's why I asked. So I said, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to ask the question. We'll leave it to the listeners to decide what they think about it and come up to their own judgments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
Just, it's safe ground.
I wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going there. I guess, look, you've been with me for a while here. I know you're so busy with everything going on. It's probably not even 10:15 or something over there in Arizona. Don't want to keep you long. You are the hub of the world of ufology as far as I am concerned. You've got some great researchers and writers and a great creative team, yourself included. You're very busy with the UFO Congress coming up in February and UFO TV. You being the news source, Alejandro, maybe you can share with us up here in up in the Eastern Canada region of North America, what's hot? What's hot in ufology right now? Give us the scoop.
I think what's hot right now is the media. The media itself is the hot piece. I mean, we had Leslie King come out with her book. Then we had, Around the Generals and very credible people. That got a lot of news. We had Robert Hastings and Salas do their UFO nukes press conference. That got a lot of news. We had these New York sightings and balloons, which I think are New York sightings of UFOs, which got a lot of news, which I think were mostly balloons, and I think the news really started picking up on UFO sightings, and they happen a lot, so it's easy to do. And there's a real hotness around the media in UFOs. And now that we have some really cool sightings, I like for instance, that blue UFO that was seen in, I think it was Virginia. That was really strange. We have a couple other videos that were taken that were really good lately. I hope the media keeps picking up, and I think we just need to hopefully keep in contact, like you said earlier, that it's not as helpful to make this a whole us and them, the media or the government are enemy, but instead that they're people like us just trying to do their job, and that we need to understand how to work with them and to work with them better and to work with them cooperatively, because that's what's going to really open them up to being more open to getting this information out. And that's where we need to, I think, learn to work better. For instance, a lot of these government officials, you're banging out their door to disclose UFO information, and they don't know anything about UFOs. Even the president, as we found with Clinton, was not cleared for a lot of information, and so he wasn't given a lot of information. Politicians don't know much. Maybe there's some who have been in certain panels or groups where they know more, but really what we need to do is inform these guys, give them the information, kind of like what Greer originally did with his disclosure and giving them the information. We need to continue to let them in, let them know that there is credible information, something's going on, before we start accusing them of hiding information when they don't know anything.
Yeah.
So I think those are some of these relationships we have to work on that are opening up. We have a great opportunity to do that right now, and I hope the media continues to cover this, and that's certainly our goal. Being a media organization is to keep the media open to all of this, to where it can be a regular thing we discuss in a non-silly way, so people don't laugh about it but take it serious, and that will open up these opportunities for organizations, government, hopefully even scientific, to take a serious look.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think of this this LA quote-unquote missile out there, videotaped there Monday night, which would have been, what, November 7th or 8th? Something like that?
Yeah, what is interesting about that is they gave it the UFO treatment.
Right.
And what I mean by that is analysts, in this case, they were defense analysts, weapon analysts, major ones, including Jane's Defense, who came out and said that's a missile. Who knows where it came from, but that's a missile. They called it a missile. Yeah. Well, the government did its typical thing. First, the FAA says, we didn't hear, nobody called in about it. We have no information on it. We didn't track it on any radars. Then the government says, we don't know what it is. It's not ours. Then they changed their story to, at first it was, it could have been an illusion from a plane, or it could have been a hobbyist. And then they changed to the least scary version, which is that it was a mistake. It was a contrail from a plane.
Yeah. So
they're saying that but you see this evolution, just like with the UFO. FAA denies that anything happened. Let's take, for instance, the sighting over the airport in Chicago, O'Hare.
Yeah.
Same thing. FAA denies that they had anything, even though luckily the reporter was able to push them on it and found out they lied, and that, yes, in fact, pilots had reported to them, but they said no at first. The government doesn't respond, or then the FAA finally says it's a weather anomaly, and everybody agrees with that. So you see this pattern of this stonewalling of the information, and then this change in information eventually that happens as they decide what story they want to come up with. So it was probably a missile. Who knows? Hopefully it was just it was a known test that we were doing and not some stray missile that was an accident, or even worse, some enemy sneaked over and demonstrated.
Yeah, I don't know. My impression,
35 miles away from L.A.
It came from the Pacific Ocean too, wasn't it? Like 30 miles offshore?
Yeah, 35 miles offshore of L.A., out of the ocean. So it seemed to be something launched from a sub.
Yeah, my impression it was some sort of test launch or test vehicle of some kind. I'm not sure. That's my impression.
But really, if you're paying attention, it's another example of the people you can trust the least, unfortunately, are the military.
Yeah.
These other people who are very credible, capable people. Jane's Defense is the number one when it comes to missiles and defense technology. So they should know. But the military is the last one you can trust, and unfortunately, through being a UFO researcher, but even if you're out in the public, people, I think, need to understand, and it's not good, of course, the military lies. It's their knee-jerk reaction. It's kind of like lie unless for some reason you have to tell the truth, even if maybe it's a mundane kind of thing. It's just their culture to lie, and unfortunately, we really cannot trust the military at all when it comes to any of this. Totally
agreed. Absolutely. It's a very kind of a sticky area there, and it's been going on forever and ever.
Yep.
And it's still happening for some reason. I don't know. I'm going to ask you this, Alejandro, before we wrap this up. You're a curious guy. You're a real nice guy. You're a gentleman. You're very passionate about what you do, busy, industrious. I think, well, it's in my opinion, that, the nuts and bolts are very important, but being a human being, as a member of the species here on planet Earth, I think I've come to discover that, there are secrets behind the physical world that, that we can tap into, and I think intuition is one of them, and, a lot of indigenous cultures will tell you the same thing, that there's something else going on behind the scenes. My intuition You know, my feelings, along with the nuts and bolts combined, tells me, you know, of a real big picture going on here that's being hidden from us all.